The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes, like Andy, need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome, everybody, on this Tuesday night. It is now day 4. We're going to go full Ted Koppel here, like he did on ABC News back in 1980 with the American hostages being held in Iran for, I believe it was 444 days. So we're going to do this every day of the Iran war. The difference here is this war ain't going on for 444 days. If I say 44 days, I would be, that sounds more like it, but I have a feeling it'll be much shorter than that, because we are just taking out basically all of Iran's missile systems. We're taking out their leadership. And then not only did we get the varsity, apparently we're getting the JV, but more on that in a moment. Let's hear from the president, who spoke at length today. He met with the German chancellor, and as usual, the opposite of Biden took question after question after question. Here he explains why we went to war with Iran. Cut number 15. Cut number 15. Go.
Iran, if we don't stop them, or if we didn't stop them, or if we didn't start, they've been decimated. But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war, and they would have taken out many countries, because you know what? They're sick people. They're mentally ill, sick people. They're angry. They're crazy. They're sick. Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Well, that about sums it up as far as why we went to war. Now, there are some parallels being drawn by those on the left saying, well, that's what George W. Bush said and Dick Cheney said about Iraq, that Saddam was trying to get weapons of mass destruction that he would use against his enemies, including the U.S., and then they went in there and didn't find any. In this case, the evidence is overwhelming, and it's not just nuclear war that Trump could have referenced there, but 47 years of war against the United States. They've killed more than 1,000 Americans during that time, mostly military. They've held the Strait of Hormuz hostage for many, many years, which is a crucial shipping lane, because when that gets closed off, well, then you have to go all the way around the Horn of Africa. We're talking weeks, and that is a time means money kind of situation. I could go on as far as Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis and all of these different terror groups that they've used to terrorize Israel and the West over the years. But in the end, this could not go on anymore. And the difference here, again, between Iran and Iraq is that we don't have 100,000 U.S. troops amassed at the Kuwaiti border going into Iraq, or in this case, troops at the Iranian border going into Iran. Because there are no troops going into Iran. We won't need them. We have an intelligence superiority right now, thanks to the Israelis, and obviously complete and total air superiority that we will use until every last ballistic missile system and every last possible weapon that Iran tries to use is eliminated. And already 4 days in, think about it. We took out the entire leadership, basically, the starting team, as I referenced before. And then we even went further when they met to name a new supreme leader. And guys, you know, there is this thing called Zoom, all right, FaceTime. Getting together, not a good idea, because the Israelis know every move these guys are making, where they're going to be, exactly where they're going to be. And we blew up the second meeting of possible candidates for supreme leader. Trey Yingst with the report for Fox News. This is Cut 20. Cut 20. Go.
Of one of these cluster munition impacts just outside of Tel Aviv, but I'm told by a senior Israeli official that the Israelis just struck the Supreme Council gathering where the Iranians were meeting to choose a new supreme leader. This is a significant development and, again, speaks to the Israeli intelligence about this war. They just targeted the meeting in Tehran where what's left of the leadership was gathering to choose a new supreme leader.
So, seriously, how long do you think anybody who's left in any position of power is going to say, you know what, let's still fight the Americans and the Israelis, knowing that you'll be dead the minute that you step outside of whatever safe house that you're in right now? Seriously, like that's what this comes down to as far as a choice, not just for them, but for the Revolutionary Guard as well, where Trump said, put down your weapons or you will face certain death. And that ain't a bluff. As we know, Donald Trump does not bluff. I think we've learned that by now. Meanwhile, the president is quite pissed at several European countries. Now think about this for a moment. What is happening here? Because this is far different than what we saw, say, in the first Gulf War, or even the second, where Arab countries are aligned with the Jews, Israel, and the great Satan, America. Isn't that incredible? Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, right? And several neighbors of Iran who I guess they thought may come to their aid at some point, Oman, Qatar, you name it. And instead, what's happening is that they are completely and totally with us 100%. And meanwhile, maybe not Qatar, give them 70%. I don't quite trust them. But overall, the Arab countries are with us. And while Germany has been great, according to the president, we'll play this clip in a second, Spain has dropped the ball. And now Spain is about to be ostracized from any conversation regarding Donald Trump and the U.S. And the U.K. Has also been, who's supposed to be our greatest ally, has been profoundly disappointing. I'm putting it lightly. The president put it a much different way. This is cut number 16. 16, go.
Some of the European nations have been helpful and some haven't. And I'm, very surprised. Germany's been great. He's been terrific. Others have been very good, terrific. I think that the head of NATO, Mark, is fantastic. Okay, Mark Rutte. I think he's fantastic. But some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain.
Yeah. All right. Bye, Spain. And then the UK and Keir Starmer not letting us use their bases. What the hell, guys? I mean, did your balls drop off, to quote the Joker in Dark Knight? I mean, what are you doing? After everything we've done for you, you're still a little bit angry about 1812 and 1776. Well, sorry. Not sure where that's coming from. But yeah, Spain and the UK currently in, as the French say, chateau bow wow, which is the doghouse in Trump's world. And that's not a chateau bow wow that you ever want to be in. Meanwhile, I got to play this for you because this is a little bit more sober as far as the importance of the Arab coalition that I was just speaking of. And Tom Cotton, who's former military, who I think could be president one day. I think Marco Rubio could be president one day. Certainly, I think J.D. Vance would be president one day. Deep bench on the Republican side. But I think Cotton really lays this argument out well as far as why it's so important to have the Arab nations on our side. Cut number one, go.
Iran targeted these Arab countries. They didn't plead for peace. They didn't ask Donald Trump to stop. They asked Donald Trump for targeting information so they could join in the strikes in Iran. That's what a real coalition looks like. We're all now fighting together to try to finally eliminate the threat that a revolutionary Iran poses to the United States, to our Arab friends, and to Israel.
And I think the chancellor.
And meanwhile, Iran's response, because no one's really running the country right now, they're kind of like how we felt with Biden over 4 years, except there's literally no one running the country, I think, over there at this point. So they're just deciding to bomb anybody and everybody that they can because there's not really a strategy involved. So anybody who's allied with the United States, then they're just deciding to go after. Now here's the funny part about all this. And Jon Stewart, I get he's liberal, but this is very good. This is great as far as the analogy he uses, as far as Iran's strategy here at this point. This is cut number 2. Go.
So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. America and Israel attack Iran, and Iran's answer is to just attack everybody. Having been in a bar fight or two in my life, I'm pretty sure the worst thing you can do during a 2-on-1 beatdown is slap everyone else. Hey, not every part of me is getting punched. What are you doing? Hey, you.
And that's exactly right. They're just, all right, we're going to just fight everybody and see how it goes. I mean, this isn't Jack Reacher as far as Iran is concerned. You're not going to win that 5-on, 9-on-1. But this is what desperation appears to look like at this point. Meanwhile, as far as people talking about, well, what was the sense of urgency? Why did we do this now? Well, Steve Witkoff, who is part of an envoy to like half the countries in the world, it feels like, on the Trump team, here he is in cut 5. And this is what Iran had told him during weeks of negotiations before this war was launched. Cut number 5, go.
90% material, Sean, can be brought to 90%. That's weapons grade, in roughly 1 week, maybe 10 days at the outside. The 20% can be brought to weapons grade inside of 3 to 4 weeks. And let me say this, because I forgot this small little detail. In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly, with no shame, that they controlled 460 kilograms of 60%, and they're aware that that could make 11 nuclear bombs, and that was the beginning of their negotiating stance.
And that was Witkoff with Fox's Sean Hannity last night. Now, did they have the ability to do that, or were they trying to create leverage that wasn't there? Who knows? Who cares? They said it, and I guess you have to take them at their word. So within 3 to 4 weeks, weapons grade XYZ, and you have the opportunity where all leadership is gathering in one place, and the Israelis knew it. They told us, and in broad daylight, we didn't care. Took them all out, and now it is a rudderless ship, it appears. Meanwhile, of course, we can't forget about Kamala Harris in this whole situation because, well, she was the 2024 Democratic nominee, and now she is the leader in the polls as far as the nomination for 2028. I've seen maybe an outlier or two where Newsom is leading barely, but for the most part, it's Kamala's to lose. Now, I know, I get it. We're something like many months out, but I'm just saying that if she is going to go on the record and start talking about stuff, then we should highlight it here on Concha at Night and other places as far as, well, this is where she comes down on this. And if she represents the Democratic Party, then it's worth listening to if you can understand it. So here she is in cut number 21. She's already spoken out against the Iran war, and she's completely against it because, well, of course she is. But here she's going on a rant against ICE and then ends it in only a way that Kamala Harris can. This is cut number 21. Go.
In Minneapolis, just look at what we've been seeing. It's so fantastic. People coming out with their whistles, their and videotaping, and, with perfect strangers and in aiding perfect strangers. It's been so beautiful to see. And again, this is what I mean about we have the light inside of us.
We have the what? We have the light inside of us? Like E.T.? Remember E.T. when you knew, like you thought he was dead, and he's alive because this light went on in his stomach, which is me at 3 o'clock in the morning, like every night. We have the light inside of what? Who writes this stuff for? How do you still have a job? And meanwhile, all these people in Minnesota coming together. Yeah, like you did in Minnesota back during the riots that burned down that city. And you started a bail fund for rioters, including one who got out because of the bail fund and then went on to rape someone. That should have been disqualifying right there. But that's the Kamala brand. Now, I'll leave it here before we go to break. There was a time, I don't know if you guys knew this, that Kamala Harris was on Seinfeld. True story. And here she is doing her stand-up. Now, it didn't last long because Kamala gets canceled or loses in almost every situation. But here's one stand-up she did about how if you're a woman and you drink coffee from a coffee shop and they have a white lid, how that can pose all these crazy problems right out of a Seinfeld episode. This is cut number 22. Go.
So you know how those lids are, because this is, well, I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. Mm-hmm. So you know how those lids on those Starbucks cups, they're white, right?
Yeah.
And so if you wear lipstick,
right,
they get all over the lid. And so then I find myself in meetings if I'm the only woman, and that's kind of, and so I keep taking the lid off and having my cup out so that I don't have that big lipstick mark on the lid. So I said, can we do something about the color of the lid?
No. Make it stop.
So that was that conversation.
I missed that episode somehow, but boy, that is riveting stuff right there from Kamala, no question. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We're going to continue the fun in just a moment. Please do stick around.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes, like Andy, need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
So, likely next week, we will have Senator John Kennedy on this program, which there's not many senators I would actually tease that far in advance, but he is that good as far as not only explaining things in a very pragmatic, common sense way, but also he's effing hilarious. This guy. And I heard him on the Ruthless podcast today, and I said, you know what, let's get Senator Kennedy back on the show. We had him on in November, I believe, and you see him all over Fox for a reason, and he'll even do CNN. He'll even do other networks, no problem, because he's so confident in his arguments. And again, a sense of humor can go a long way. Here he is in cut number 14, and this is how he breaks down anti-Trump sentiment among Democrats with another perfect analogy. Cut 14, go.
So many of my Democratic colleagues' point of view is shaped by their hatred for Trump. It's just that simple. If the president came out in favor of breathing to live, they would hold their breath. And I think
maybe that's something worth considering.
There's something there, John. And as we get closer to the midterms, that's becoming more and more the case.
Yeah, if Trump came out pro-breathing, then they would hold their breath. I don't know where he comes up with this stuff, but it's genius, and I may steal some of it, as a matter of fact, with attribution, of course. Anyway, here's my favorite clip of the day, and this is Wheel of Fortune. It's flashback, admittedly, but this is one of the worst situations of all time. The phrase clearly, almost every letter on the board is answered then at that point. It's turned over, and it's supposed to be feather in your cap. That's it. And somehow this one person keeps getting this wrong, despite the fact that all she has to know is the word cap, because I think at that point, like an A and a P are available. This is cut number 10. Go.
I'll solve.
Okay.
Another feather in your hat.
Hat?
I'll solve.
Okay.
Another feather in your lap.
Oh.
No.
Another feather in your
Well,
what?
what letter would you like?
A P?
Yes, there's a P. Spin or solve.
I will solve.
Okay.
Another feather in your map.
Needless to say, that contestant never went on to win. Another feather in your... How is there any other possible answer than cap? I love that show. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. I love this show, too. It's Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Pete Hegseth, my former colleague at Fox, who ate anything possible off the ground if it was only there for 5 seconds or less. True story. I mean, he is legendary for this. Before he became the Secretary of Defense, later named the Secretary of War, but when Pete was hosting Fox and Friends Weekend, Ainsley Earhart and Rachel Campos Duffy, who both obviously were co-hosts of him, or with him, I should say, would explain how Pete would drop, say, a bagel on the floor with cream cheese on it, upside down, so the cream cheese was hitting the carpet, would pick it up and just throw it in his mouth because it was within 5 seconds. You got to admire somebody like that. All right. You want somebody like that running the Pentagon. And I mean that actually, like, in all seriousness, levity aside, he has done a phenomenal job and probably got the most crap during the nomination process. Oh, he's not ready. He's not prepared. All these things. Well, we've carried out military exercises, including in Venezuela, that have been pitch perfect perfection. Same thing, obviously, with taking out the Ayatollah and 47 other Iranians. I mean, as far as like you want a report card, 13 months into the Trump administration, the Secretary of War and Pete Hegseth gets an A+. And here he is, again, the guy knows media. We talked about it 100 times on that show. And here somebody tries to play a gotcha question with him as far as the timeline for the war, because you could predict that exactly to the hour. And Pete gives it to him in only a way that Pete can. This is cut number 6. Go.
Any American boots on the ground in Iran?
No, but we're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do. I think it's one of those fallacies for a long time that this department or presidents or others should tell the American people, this, and our enemies, by the way, here's exactly what we'll do. Here's exactly how long we'll go. Here's exactly how far we'll go. Here's what we're willing to do and not do. It's foolishness. And so President Trump ensures that our enemies understand we'll go as far as we need to go to advance American interests. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years. We've proven that you can achieve objectives that advance American interests without being foolish about it. Now, will we be bold about it? Are we willing to be decisive about it? Do we put months and months of planning into what kind of effects we want to achieve? Absolutely. But going forward, why in the world would we tell you, the enemy, anybody, what we will or will not do in pursuit of an objective?
And that is so true. This is not Iraq again, where, again, before Iraq, we had, Colin Powell up in front of Congress and telegraphing exactly what we wanted to do. Not that Powell was doing it necessarily, but obviously we were telling the enemy that, yeah, we're coming in, right? Congressional votes, lining troops up on the border. Here we had an opportunity and we took it, and we didn't need to, say, go to Congress, for example, because the War Powers Act does not require that Congress, all 535 members, are informed before we go into a secret mission. Because Adam Schiff or Jamie Raskin or Eric Swalwell, pick your poison, would leak that to the New York Times in about 8 seconds or less. But Pete's point is exactly right, where he talks about, we're not going to tell you what we're going to do, like unequivocally say that we'll not have boots on the ground. Well, we're not going to take that off the table. Like, you got to be ambiguous and vague in these situations as to not project what you're going to do next. And as far as timelines, again, war is war. You can't pinpoint exactly how long one will take. But at this point, the U.S. and Israel well ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, Joy Behar, ABC News. Remember, The View is not in the entertainment portion of the ABC News apparatus, or ABC for that matter. It's not even the comedy department. Entertainment, fiction, horror, no. It is under the news umbrella. So here is Joy Behar believing that Iran is really a wag the dog exercise to distract from something, and then phones a friend for, I guess, foreign affairs advisement, because then she admits that she knows nothing about foreign affairs. This is perfection. Cut number 19, go.
So why is he doing this? Possibly it's a distraction, like a wag the dog situation.
I don't think this one is.
You don't. Idiots. One of my friends said, I asked one of my friends who's more of an expert than I am. Certainly, I don't have any expertise on international affairs, except
Clearly.
the ones that I've had.
Oh, imagine being on the other side of that affair. Unbelievable. But yeah, I phoned a friend who really filled me in on everything. So now I'm going to go on national television and be an expert on it. And I'll throw out these conspiracy theories that Trump is doing this to distract from something. Put American troops in harm's way, start a war with friggin' Iran to distract, from the Epstein files? It's so utterly sophomoric, and that is an insult to sophomores, believe me. Meanwhile, let's go to this cut, which is one of my favorites of the day by far, and this is Elizabeth Hasselbeck back on The View. Now, The View hasn't had somebody who has been combative and actually takes the side of the right since Meghan McCain. And you can say, well, Meghan McCain's anti-Trump. Still, she put up a fight in many, many situations, and she was only saying that as far as Trump to, because she had her father's back. I mean, you can understand that as a daughter-father kind of relationship, given that Trump went after McCain and McCain gave it back, and then the daughter took his side. But the point is that she would be as combative as anybody we've ever seen on that show with the hens that occupy the other 4 seats. Elizabeth Hasselbeck did a pretty good job herself way back in the day, and she's been on a couple times this week now. And if the viewer were actually smart, they would keep her on there because she actually makes it interesting and makes an intelligent argument from a conservative perspective and not these fake conservatives that they put on there. Anyway, this is cut number 3. Go.
I do think it's threefold. One, we have 47 million Iranian women who now have a hope of freedom. That's a good thing. Okay, we have an disgusting terrorist regime ended, and the people finally have hope to create their own nation again. Okay, so that's the hope. When we zoom out in geopolitical realm, okay, which is not my specialty either, but we have a ton of friends in the military who specialize in this. We see that this is actually avoiding a boots on the ground war with China when we are able to choke their oil supply, and the president and our military are exemplary in doing so right now. They've cut the oil supply from Venezuela, and they've now reduced it and choked the oil supply to China in Iran. And now what that does is presumably prevent China from having an absolute stronghold on the globe. So this is a strategic move geopolitically that we may not fully understand, but I absolutely trust that this is best for our nation, and we should be America first.
And that is the 3D part about this, right? Venezuela first, then Iran, and guess who will be the one affected most? China, by far. You're choking off literally their lifeblood, as in oil. And when you do that, suddenly they're isolated. Now suddenly they really probably got to play ball. And then what happens to Russia, by the way? Right? Russia has the economy of New York State, and China has propped them up during this war to a certain extent. That war has got to be costing money, and Russia doesn't really produce anything. So, yeah, if you want to look at big picture, why we go to war with Iran, why did we get Maduro out of Venezuela? Maybe we're starting to see it now. And Elizabeth Hasselbeck actually articulated that perfectly. Meanwhile, Scott Jennings over on CNN was asked, hey, we did strikes in Iran before, and why would this be any different this time around? And he gives, well, a very succinct answer here. Cut number 24. Go.
But hold on. If bombs dropping on the nuclear program and destroying them last year didn't help move forward those objectives of deterring the regime, why do we think that suddenly this is going to do the same thing?
Because the people who weren't deterred are now dead.
Because they're all dead. Yep. Don't need to add anything there. That's called word economy. Meanwhile, Jim Acosta, who was let go by CNN, you know how hard that is to do? Jeffrey Toobin literally pleasured himself on a Zoom call with female employees and still kept his job with pay, was put on a long vacation, a hiatus. And now you see him back on the air. And the only thing I say when Toobin's on is, show those hands, pal. All right. Put them up. Got to see him. Because you should have got the shaft. That was intended. And instead, even CNN couldn't let go of that guy. They fired Brian Stelter and hired him back. But Acosta was even that insufferable to his coworkers and to the audience and to everybody else. Now he does a podcast from what it looked like a Hotel 6, if you watch the video. And he's really not happy that Scott Jennings is getting all this attention over at CNN because, well, Jim should be there anchoring the news, and Scott Jennings should be fired or something. This is cut number 7. Go.
Do we want Scott Jennings anchoring the CBS Evening News or anchoring AC 360 and talking about what a great president Donald Trump is and how he's the best president since George Washington and Abraham Lincoln? I mean, what kind of crazy Stranger Things upside down world are we going to become if that's the kind of news and information that we have pumping out over the airwaves in this country? It sounds to me that that's exactly what Donald Trump wants.
Look, Jimmy, here's how this works. Scott Jennings is a commentator. He is a partisan. He wears it on his sleeve. He is paid to give opinions. He is a conservative and gives opinions from the conservative point of view. Most of those opinions are in agreement with what President Trump is doing. You give opinions and pretend to be a journalist. That's the difference. And that's why Scott is gainfully employed. And that's why you're doing a podcast from, if it isn't Hotel 6, then your kitchen, and you look exactly like Rosie O'Donnell, which is no way to go into your 50s. No question about it. Anyway, Chuck Todd, another guy who was let go from a cable news network, another guy who, they all wear glasses. Does anybody not wear glasses anymore? I mean, it's a thing on the left, I suppose. Here is Chuck Todd declaring, and boy, you could take this to the bank. It's opposite day. Don't take it to the bank. Chuck Todd declaring on March 3rd of 2026 that J.D. Vance will never be president. Okay, cut number 23, go.
Yeah, I love hot takes.
J.D. Vance's presidential aspirations are dead.
That is a hot take. Okay, explain. I mean, I know what you're talking about. But
from this.
Okay.
Recovering from this.
Because he is such a
vice president.
Right.
No, it's what happens. It's like what happened to Kamala Harris. Whatever identity J.D. Vance had going that was different from Donald Trump's is gone. And now you own everything he does.
That's a good thing. If J.D. Vance goes into the 2020 election owning everything that Trump is doing and has done, the most transformational president of our lifetime, I think J.D. would take that hand. Todd's point here, Chuck's point here, is that, well, J.D. Vance is more of an isolationist and probably has said in the past that we shouldn't go into wars like this, but the context means everything. J.D. Vance means not another Iraq war with hundreds of thousands of troops on the ground, occupation, regime change, and troops being there in perpetuity, right? So, no, this does not destroy his chances. And by the way, Chuck Todd said in 2016 that Donald Trump was toast on several occasions, and even in September, 2 months before that election, said that that was the end for Donald Trump. He would not be president. So this ain't Jimmy the Greek that we're talking about here. So if Chuck Todd says that J.D. Vance won't be president, then start getting your Vance 48 T-shirts now, because that's probably what is going to happen. Meanwhile, let's end it here as far as before we go to break. Mark Cuban, I agree with this. I completely agree with this sentiment where he says that, you know what? Zohran Mamdani's social media team is what Democrats should emulate if they want to be successful in elections. You say, Joe, what happened? You support Mamdani? No, of course not. I don't support government-run grocery stores, and I don't support $30 minimum wage, and I don't support free childcare for everyone at a price tag of $10 billion when we already have a multi-billion-dollar deficit in New York. And I don't support free busing. And I don't support being the Oprah of mayors where you get free busing and you get this free thing and you get this free thing. All right. What I'm saying is that his social media strategy is why we have a Mayor Mamdani. So whoever orchestrated that, if you're a candidate, particularly in a race where you want, no, it doesn't really care, actually. It doesn't matter what the brand is, as long as the packaging is there. Well, copy that because it was successful. So here is Cuban's idea around what Democrats should do with Mamdani's social team. This is cut number 26. Go.
Mamdani here in New York, right? He's Trump Jr. He's a little clone of Trump. James Tallarico and Mamdani, you know what they have in common?
No.
They both grew up in an era where Donald Trump was the dominant politician that was dominated by social media. And you look at Mamdani, brilliant at social media, right? I told the Democrats they should hire his team, pay him $10 million each to take them from him, because that'll get them further along than buying $50 million worth of ads on linear media.
That is exactly right. Linear media, which means television ads on your local TV station that you're inundated with for 3 months and you turn the channel the minute you see one, that is not what works anymore. Effective social media campaigns, and that was the groundbreaking moment for Donald Trump in 2015, owned that space, got all that free media, all that free social media and likes and retweets and views. And now that roadmap was copied quite nicely by Zohran Mamdani. And now, you know what? If you got to pay for social media, a team like Mamdani's, and pay him $10 million each, well, beats throwing it on TV, which less and less people are watching these days, especially the ads, when people are just watching things anywhere, anytime without the ads. So I'm just saying, Cuban is right on this one. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment, including a preview of the Luigi Mangione play. One of the most disgusting things you could possibly imagine. But yep, it's coming to New York. Stick around.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, this is my least favorite story of the year, and it's only March. Luigi Mangione musical immortalizing accused CEO killer to premiere on New York City stage. You sick MRFers. Reading from the New York Post. A ghoulish musical comedy immortalizing the alleged United Healthcare CEO gunman, Luigi Mangione, will premiere in New York City. The real-life setting of the shocking assassination that happened, about a year ago, December, this summer. Luigi the Musical will take the stage at the Green Room 42 in Midtown West on June 15th. That's a 20-minute ride from where Mangione allegedly, gunned down CEO Brian Thompson outside of a Hilton hotel in December of 2024. The twisted satirical comedy provides a bold, campy, and unafraid take on the accused assassin's life in lockdown while on trial for murder of the dad of two. It's marketed as a tale of love, murder, and hash browns. I swear to... We are screwed as a society. That this person is being celebrated with a play. This thing apparently had already premiered in San Francisco last year to sold out crowds. Blue cities are so out of touch. And quite frankly, remember when Trump said during the State of the Union, these people are crazy? This is nuts. This is sick. Luigi Mangione shot a father of two in the back and killed him because he was mad about the healthcare system. And Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, had nothing to do with any of this, especially Mangione's, I guess, plight, a kid who grew up rich and went to UPenn, Wharton School of Business. He's really slumming it from what it looks like. And he shoots this guy, even though he didn't even have United Healthcare. And he's celebrated to the point where there's a GoFundMe out there for more than $1 billion to support Luigi. And now he gets a play? And somebody greenlit this? And there are actors in New York City that are going to go out and try to get this part? There should be a mass boycott of this. But it won't happen. Because New York City can elect Zora Memdani. They'll sell out the Luigi Mangione play. No question about that. I'm telling you, this is not fake anger. That is so infuriating that this is happening. And people will actually support it. And if you go to that play, F you. Seriously. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton... here he is talking about how, Donald Trump did nothing wrong when it comes to Epstein. Game, set, match, you would think, but that won't be the case. Cut number 4, go.
The only conversation I had with President Trump about this was in the early 2000s. And I have no information that he did anything wrong. I just want it all out there. I want everybody to get it all out there and let everybody see where we are.
It's funny, my wife asked me, she said, do you think Bill Clinton was with any underage girls? At that point, I don't. I just don't. Was Bill a horn dog? Could he have forced himself on some women? They say it happened. Right? Monica Lewinsky, only 21 years old. Do I think he went the 14, 13-year-old? No, I don't. All right? You can yell at your radio right now and scream. I don't care. I don't think he went that far. And I think, again, it would have been weaponized by now against a former president, whether that be Trump, the current one, or Clinton, the former one. There is no there when it comes to those two guys. That I'm fairly confident in, because it would have been used. It would have been weaponized, I am telling you. Anyway, Kristi Noem was just outstanding today on Capitol Hill. Here is Chris Coons, all right, of Delaware, asking her, hey, are you going to have ICE outside of voting locations during the election? And she gives the perfect response. This is cut number 13. Go.
You rule out the deployment of ICE or CBP to polling places this November.
There are no plans to have ICE officers at our polling locations. And
I'm glad to hear that, but would you rule it out? Would you say it will not happen?
Do you plan on illegal aliens voting in our elections, Senator?
Exactly. Well, if you want ICE anywhere on Election Day, I think voting locations is a good way to protect our elections, to make sure that they are safe and that they are secure and that no one who is here illegally casts a vote. You would think the Democrats would be for that, but that would mean sanity. and pragmatism. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This has been Concha at Night. Back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC and on stations around the country. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes, like Andy, need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.